How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Diamond Mountain channel. I really hope you enjoy it if you're new to me, and why not subscribe and hit that bell. Right, today got some more chicken nuggets for you, some more golden nuggets of jewellery making wisdom. I was talking before about beeswax and this stuff and the difference when using draw plates and doing your saw blade and stuff. I forgot to mention this bit of wax that I keep next to my draw plate, my vise. If I had another bit, this is the only bit of wax I got, but if I had another bit, I may be tempted to just melt it or glue it and stick it there. And it's very handy when you're sawing and you just need a little zip, you can just zip it up there and then carry on sawing. It's very useful to have it there, which is what I used to do on my last bench before I had that. So that's kind of replaced that, but it's a good idea to have a bit of beeswax there. It's very useful for your saw blade. I mean, you can literally just melt the surface. You can see that. Don't want to drip on my lighter. Goes a bit liquidy, and just wallop. There you go. That's how you do it. Charcoal block. Using it for melt ups. See that space? I've totally worn that out, so maybe I'll cut a new one this side. It does destroy your charcoal blocks doing this, so it's not ideal. You should use proper crucible and all that stuff you can get. But I don't have one, and I don't really miss one doing this. For the amount of work I do, this is fine. So I'll show you how I cut a groove in my charcoal block for melting bits in. What I do is I take this large ball phrase. I don't know what that measurement is. Doesn't matter, just come on. Call it 8mm. That's an 8mm ball on there, but just whatever you got that's big. Take that. Then what you do, get a bin or a box with a plastic bag, whatever, put it right in front of you, hold that. Don't go too close to the edge, because when you're putting a lot of heat on that, it does burn away the charcoal a lot. You can see it's gone flat. And the reason I hold it over the bin, because the amount of dust that comes off it, and it's very fine dust, so don't have any fans blowing on you or even a window open. Maybe even don't even breathe. If you don't want this dust in your lungs, you don't want it over everywhere else as well. So yeah, not too close to the edge, and I'm just going to do a line about there. Right, I'm holding it in the bin more. It's kicking up dust quite a lot. This is a Japanese charcoal block, much smaller than the ones you get in the UK, and like twice the price, but it's lasted so much longer. It's much more solid somehow. Alright, so I've got dust everywhere, but a lot of it's gone in the bin. Gently just push that dust out. Don't blow it, just push it out with a brush. Now that groove is what I'm going to be using for melting bits in. Just a couple of things I would recommend if you're doing this. I recommend, not essential I guess, but I recommend having some kind of block under this. This is like a cheapy replacement for charcoal block, but they're not as good. But I use it as a stand. It stops charcoal getting all over my heat plate on my bench, and then it's just a nice flat surface. And I was earlier making an 18-carat pendant, and I needed to get solder underneath, so that perfectly flat top and that sharp corner is really useful. I could have it hanging over the edge and get heat underneath. Something charcoal tends to go rounded on the edges, and it's obviously loses its flatness. Anyway, chuck your little bits of metal in there. I recommend standing up when you're doing melt ups, just in case it pops or spits, which is something never happened, but it's possible. A little air bubble can pop, and if it spits metal at you, you want to be able to jump back out of the way. Obviously, charcoal block or something comes apart and then molten metal falls this way, you just want to get out of the way and then deal with it. Don't want molten metal landing on your body, because I imagine it would do a lot of damage before you get it off you. Right, so I've only got this crappy thing for soldering, so it's slow doing melt ups. It's not ideal, but I'm making it work. start off with a bit of flux on it. Probably got a bit too hot there. Helps it flow. Ideally the metal should be clean in there. If you've got some old bits that are all dusty and greasy, maybe even ultrasonic them or put them in the acid or something before you melt them up. You want as little contaminants in there as possible. And what helps it flow, you can dab your borax on there. You can see this torch is not really good for melt ups. It takes a long time to get it hot enough to melt. I could probably just about melt gold with this, but platinum just wouldn't even bother trying. No way. I always move the heat up and down, try and get the whole thing liquid. Ideally you want it to move, then you know the whole piece of metal has gone liquid. So yeah, that's melted. And I know some jewellers will melt it on a flat bit. They'll get a pair of these and then they squash it and hold it there. And so it kind of goes solid in a nice, useful, long, flat-sided shape. I don't recommend doing that because you're changing the shape of the metal as it cools down really quickly, and you can cause like internal little fractures and cracks because obviously the metal's going from liquid state to solid while you're moving it, and it can muck it up. You're far better off having some kind of groove where it melts at the shape you want, and then just let it sit until it goes solid. I let it cool down a bit. I don't like chucking things in the acid when they're too hot because you spit in acid everywhere, and I don't think it's good for the metal either. So just let things cool down in their own time, at least a minute or two. Put it on something metal, it'll cool down a bit quicker, and then put it in the acid. And on to the next chicken nugget. Obviously you're banging metal on here. Sometimes you need something with a bit of give so you can form a shape, give it a bit of a dome or whatever. A lot of jewellers have like a big tree trunk in the workshop. You don't need that much wood. I've just got this. This is literally a doily. So you can see there's a few shapes in there. When I was doing my leaves recently for the how to make a leaf ring, I was banging it in here. This is just a slice of wood. That's all it is. So that's all you need. If you've got limited space like me, working from home, and you need a bit of wood, don't need a whole half a tree trunk. Just get a slice of wood. Organising your lemel. I've got separate bags for platinum, 18 carat, I chuck 9 carat in there as well, just gold basically, and what else? Silver I keep in a pot. So I know it probably all gets mixed together when they're refining it, but it's nice to kind of have an idea. It's not really pure as well. There'll be scraps of silver and stuff mixed in with that, but I think it's good to keep it separate while it's in your workshop, and then you can weigh it before you send it off for getting it all refined and seeing how much you get, because if you have the weights you can work out a kind of price, and then you know kind of what you're expected to receive. So next nugget, even when you're working on cheap stones, this is a synthetic sapphire, always practice being very careful with it. Even if it's your stone, you don't even really like it, just always handle it very gently. And I like to keep, I think I may have mentioned this before on a previous nugget, apologies if it's the same as before. I like to keep a piece of paper, or I've got a little notepad I use, just something soft and clear. A white piece of paper is nice because it kind of really highlights what's on it. So I'd much rather stone was put there and then I can see it, I know it's safe. If it's just scratching around with bits of metal and that on your bench, like especially something like that, get that well away from it. You know, bits of emery paper, you know, the things like that, they're so lethal to have near expensive stones. So one day you may be working on something expensive, and if you've always practiced being very careful with stones, you won't have a problem with it. If you're very careless with stones just because you don't think much of them, I think you're more likely to have an accident with an expensive stone. So just make it your habit, your practice, to just treat things very carefully and look after them. Oh, I should have checked my previous golden nuggets. I can't remember what I've already recommended. Have you seen this before? Just a little tube. What I do is, like your half round pliers, I put that on and it changes the circumference of that roundy half. So it's useful for putting inside rings. You can gently turn a ring and you'll never like over kink it. It comes in useful a lot. Also, it doesn't just work on half rounds. It can basically turn like your sharp snipes. Sorry, focus. I can turn those into half round pliers. Basically any pliers you can turn into half round with a bit of steel tube or copper tube, you know, like an old gas pipe. You can use it, but they go out of shape quite quickly. This was just something left behind after I put together like an IKEA something. It was a useful little bit of tube, so now it lives with me here, and do use it quite a lot. Useful. If you've made a piece of jewellery in 2 parts, see I've got this in 18 karat gold, I've got to solder that in there, and I lined it up nicely obviously. I polished the whole thing just to check for porosity holes and stuff, which I think is good, especially in platinum. Just flux the whole thing, because flux is basically what you're doing is protecting it from oxidizing under heat, so it's like an antioxidant solution. So I just flux the whole thing, so now I've got it polished inside and out. What I'm doing is protecting my polished surfaces, so obviously I need flux where I'm soldering it. If everything that's polished is fluxed, after it comes out the acid, after I've soldered it, I'm going to have a nice polished piece still, and also soldered part. So just protect your polished bits with flux. Saves you a bit of work in the future. Next top tip, I think I spoke about my ultrasonic before in one of the first golden nugget videos, but I don't think I mentioned this. When you're ultrasonic in like small earrings, or even just a loose stone that's you've taken out of a ring, that's all skanky, you want to ultrasonic clean it. I recently went to a fishing shop and I found this little net. This is really good because you can just obviously ultrasonic things in there, and it's very soft and very, very kind to stones. If you've got a little sieve, which is what I used to use in the UK and I couldn't find one, that's why I ended up buying this. Definitely get a plastic one because it's not going to be scratchy on any gold or any stones. A lot of the sieves here in Japan are all metal, so I'd never bought one. But I found this instead, and it's actually been alright. Also, where this was good, didn't take any power out of the ultrasonicing. Sometimes a sieve with some stuff in it, the tone of the ultrasonic will change as you put it in. It's like blocking the vibrations in the water. This doesn't block, because obviously that's very light and that moves with the vibrations quite a lot. So this is better than a sieve, I'm going to say that. And it's very cheap. What was this? 90 yen, that's like 60p, like nothing. And lastly, but certainly not least, your pin hammer, your small hammer, makes an excellent back scratcher. Oh, feels good. So thanks very much for watching, guys. It's a pleasure to have you back with me again today. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe and share this video. Hit the notification bell so you can be the first to view my new stuff. Filming all the time now, so new videos coming very soon. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.